let's talk to international borders expert Henry Bolton about a development down in Kent, which is worrying both for the local residents and I think for the nation. Welcome, Henry.
Hi, Kevin. Hi.
What I'd like to talk about is Manston, which is an airport in Kent where they've built an increasingly large centre to accommodate migrants. It's where they get processed. Many of them stay there. It used to take about 3,000. At one point, it was taking 4,000. It's Britain's biggest migrant centre, and they're now expanding it to take 1,000 more. Now, the local residents, not surprisingly, are very alarmed by this ever-expanding migrant centre. But what it does indicate, apart from the local difficulties, is that Rishi Sunak's nowhere near stopping the boats, is he?
No, of course he's not, Kevin. And if he doesn't stop the boats, or at least significantly reduce them, then they're going to have to find more and more and more places to put these people. And, what's happening in France is what happens when you've got social tensions that just spill over because of massive frustration, an element of cultural clash and so on. We've got to avoid that here. But if we just simply carry on as we are, Rishi Sunak, you're not going to solve this problem. And if I may, Kevin, I just caught the end of your interview with Harvey Procter. Yeah. And, wouldn't it be nice if we had a political party that was worth voting for? Instead of saying,
it would, wouldn't it?
the other guys, vote for us because the other guys are worse. I'm sorry, but this country deserves, the people of this country deserve a government that is worth voting for, a political party that's worth voting for, that has a real determination, the courage, the knowledge and the experience to actually deal with things like the Channel migrant problem, the asylum seekers sort of backlog, to deal with the defence issues that are facing us as well. There's a whole raft of things that you're talking about the NHS. We simply have got a government, and not just the Conservative government, it applies equally to Labour, Liberal Democrats and everybody else. There is not one party out there that really holds the confidence of the nation at the moment. There are solutions to these things, Kevin, but we've got an arrogance in our political class that does not want to go out and talk to the experts, to talk to people who've got the experience and the knowledge and bring them on board to find out how to solve these things. It's simply not there.
And this week, of course, the courts ruled that the Miranda scheme is not legal. So as things stand, the government is unable to fly any migrants to East Africa. And they will no doubt appeal that decision. But my question to you is, Henry, OK, the Rwanda scheme, I'm not against it. It's an OK deterrent if we ever get it off the ground. But surely we should really be addressing getting the boats to not come here, to maybe, if they must embark on these voyages, turning them around and taking them back to France. How about that?
Kevin, I think I'm an ex-military guy, and there's a principle of concurrent activity. You don't need to just do one thing at a time.
Yes.
The government put all its eggs into that one basket, pretty much, the Rwanda's plan, as a deterrent. Well, and they're tinkering around with agreements. They're doing a few bits and pieces, but there is no real determination. There's no vigour. There's no passion behind their effort to slow down the boats or to prevent the boats coming across. That means real bold work along the routes that the people smugglers work along. There is no courage there. There is no preparedness to put boots on the ground and take these people on, which is what it is going to require. And, the French are themselves, as we see, struggling with much of this problem. We need to enlist the support of people like the French. The European Union, we're not, forget that. They're not going to do it. But we can work with the French, we can work with the Italians, we can work with the Greeks, and we can project beyond the European continent and start taking these people on. We used to do it. It was done until 2006, Kevin. Why isn't it being done now? I tell you why. Because we've got civil servants who are full of political risk. They're woke. They don't want to go there, quite simply. We've got politicians who don't have the experience and the knowledge as to how to do it, and they don't have the character or the courage and the determination to make it happen, to drive the system to do it. So, we've got a systemic problem from top to bottom in government, through the decision-making into the administration and implementation of these things and the planning. So, we are going to somehow have to break through this, Kevin, because I don't see our politicians doing it.
Absolutely. I mean, the fact that the civil servants launched legal action against the government so that they didn't have to activate the Rwanda scheme. I mean, basically, this is a section of the workforce. They're government employees. It's like suing your bosses because your bosses want you to do the job they employed you for. Hello, this is planet Earth calling.
If a minister can't choose, hire and fire his or her staff, Kevin, there's a problem. OK, there has to be another interaction here. But going back to the sort of, we're talking, the solutions are the multiple solutions that need to be applied concurrently in a proper strategic framework, which we lack. Even Albania has a national integrated border management strategy. We don't. Why don't we? The European Union does. Croatia does. Serbia does. All of these countries have such a thing. We don't. Why not? Why is there nobody driving this? But ultimately, Kevin, you're going back to your very first point about Manston hearing.
Yeah, there's 1,000 more people going to be billeted there.
The impact is not on Downing Street. The impact is not on the Home Office. The impact is on people who are trying to get on with their lives, live in communities that actually, are struggling anyway because of the economic situation. And now they've got this on top. At some point, this is going to break. And Rishi Sunak, I mean, if you listen to him, a different topic, but on the NHS, on his NHS plans, there's nothing to incentivise and inspire the nation there. There's no passion, there's no character, there's no drive. Until we find that in our politicians, then frankly, I think we're on to a bit of a hiding to nothing.
Let's talk about the deception that's going on here. It's the last question, Henry, because we're going to have to move on. But talking about Manson, suddenly, quietly, only made a few, column inches in the papers. Nobody quite noticed it. This is Britain's biggest migrant centre with as many as 4,000 migrants in. Suddenly, quietly, they're expanding it to take 5,000. Plus, we've got RAF bases being converted so that thousands of migrants can stay there. We've got prisons, derelict prisons being rebuilt so migrants can stay there. Meanwhile, we have the Prime Minister saying, well, this is to save money on our enormous hotel bill, which is coming in around about £7 million a day for migrants, as if to give the impression that they're no longer commandeering hotels and migrants will no longer go to hotels. Not true. They are busy commandeering hotels as we speak. Migrants are being put into hotels as we speak. This problem is escalating fast, and it's gonna flare up in Sunak's face very soon, isn't it?
It is, and you talk about the cost. Manston has been declared I forget the precise terminology, but it's critical national infrastructure as an airfield. There was a long campaign to get that done. Manston should be on track to becoming a regional freight airport. But it's not. It's all being put on hold because of this. It's going to impact on the local economy quite significantly. So the costs are there are second and third order costs to all of this, to local economies and the national economy. Kevin, this is simply unsustainable. Yeah. And anybody, whether it's the Prime Minister or the Home Secretary or anyone else who thinks that simply letting these people continue come across the channel and continuing to try and find bed spaces for them all around the country, they'll be taking up Airbnb places next. Quite simply, it's not sustainable. Not beyond, in no way. It's incredible that they can think it is. So we've now got to the point, Kevin, I think, really. Well, before I was saying that we need to put, there was another solution. Yeah. I think we're beyond that. We are going to have to really enforce on our territorial waters, our national borders, at sea. We are going to have to deport people en masse to wherever we can get them to, because this system is simply breaking down now as we speak. It's beyond mitigation. It needs dramatic action.
It certainly does. Whether we'll see that or not is a moot point. Henry, though, very good to talk to you as always. Henry Bolton, our international borders expert.